Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce's Economic Summit. This is the first one we've ever done virtually, and I know that you're gonna find it extremely memorable, not just because it's virtual, but I think we have an extremely engaging and creative content of discussion. Right before we came on, I was talking to our moderator, Tom Hudson, who reminded me that our first economic summit was in 2011, when we really looked at how do we recover from one of the worst economic disasters in recent history then. Since then, we've been through a couple more. And, sometimes these summits are looking at a bleak future and sometimes a very bright one. I'm really very glad that we're looking at an extremely bright one now ahead of us. Yes, there are challenges, but the horizon really brings many sort of hope for greater things that are already taking place. So I'm Alfred Sanchez. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Miami Chamber. Again, welcome. We have an exciting summit this year. It's organized, as always, by the Chamber's Banking and Finance Committee. And I want to thank our chair of the Economic Summit Task Force, Jay Pelham, who's done an incredible job, and the chair of the Banking and Finance Committee, Gladys Reed, who have both been tremendous leaders throughout this. And we are really, truly blessed with the program that they have put on for us today and continuing on Thursday. A special thanks to all of our sponsors today. These forums couldn't be presented without them. First of all, our presenting sponsor, Fiserv, our platinum sponsor, Career Source South Florida, and we have a lot of silver sponsors. You saw them in the scroll, among which are Ocean Bank, FPL, Iberia Bank, First Horizon Bank, NBC Universal Studio Telemundo, Sandy O'Neill, and others. I want to thank all of you for being a part of this and making it happen. We are truly blessed with some top corporations here in Miami, have been for many years. Some of them are somewhat recent entrants to the South Florida market, and Fiserv is one of those companies. I've been extremely impressed by how they really get this notion of corporate citizenship. I think we have a session a little later on the corporation's role in promoting good corporate citizenship and in investing in the community. And Shane Caldwell, their vice president of business development and strategy over at Fiserv, really comes with an incredible background for that. I'm extremely impressed at what Fiserv has put together on a national level to really invest in Black-owned businesses to help them thrive. Shane himself is a veteran chamber a participant. He's played that role in many, and he really gets it. We're really very pleased to have him with us today. And the fact that he gets it is evident in a lot of the investments that they've come in. One of them is coming in not only as sponsor, but also as a Chairman's Circle member of the chamber. So I want to have you all help me welcome Shane Caldwell and Fiserv as our sponsor. Shane?
Hey, good morning, everybody. And please don't go anywhere, Alfred. I want you to come back on screen, my friend. So for folks who do know Alfred and know him well, he truly embodies somebody who I believe, and I'm a former military vet, so the military vets that are Armies and Marine, they're all going to get what I'm about to say. He truly embodies somebody who understands the word resilience. So not only is he an out-of-box thinker, but he's a resilient individual in that no matter what our challenges are from a chamber perspective, he's there. He has a great team. He surrounds himself with a team that knows exactly what it takes to get the job done. And I say all this, and I embarrass him right now, because what 2020 should have told everybody is that chambers are a lifeline to our small businesses. And so as we celebrate National Small Business Week, chambers are that conduit between the city and the business. And for those businesses who are part of the chamber, what you found through 2020 is that lifeline. You found an Alfred Sanchez who says, what do you need? You need PPE? I'll get it for you. You need PPP? I'll help you get it. You need more intelligence around how to manage your business? I'll help you get that done. Whether that's through sessions, classes, come to your house, come to your business, they're there. And I want to tell you that one of the reasons why Fiserv has chosen to be in this particular chamber, the Miami Chamber of Commerce, is that we know the value that chambers place. And when I talked to Alfred, I said, Alfred, look, I'm going to join. We're going to join at the right level. We're not going to join at a level that isn't going to help shape the culture of businesses, that isn't going to help bring a lot of financial literacy. And so what is that level? It's this, Shane. All right. What is your milestone signature event? It's the Economic Summit. Why is that so important to you, Alfred? It helps shape the culture. It helps set the tone. It helps do exactly what I believe Fiserv is here to do, and that is to help businesses. So this is going to be a hallmark opportunity for us to continue to not only do it now, but as long as we're members of this chamber, we want to own this summit, this session as a presenting sponsor. So I'm putting the word out there to all you other sponsors who want my spot. You're going to have to fight me for it. It's an honor to be here, Alfred. Thank you very much for allowing me to represent Fiserv. For those that don't know who Fiserv is, think of Fiserv in two different ways, and then I'll spare you all the details until Thursday. We're a company that serves banks, and we're a company that serves businesses. So we do this on not only a national scale, but on a global scale. We make it possible for commerce to take place. We make it possible for banks to maintain and do business with their customers. And it's exciting for us to be able to do that here in Miami. We've invested in the South Florida area with 2,000 plus associates. This is what we call a go-forward site to allow us to reach out to communities south of us and in other countries. And what I enjoy about the South Florida experience is that it's a melting pot. And so we are very excited to continue with not only doing business here in South Florida, but ultimately invest. And so you'll hear a lot more about that. We got a great partner that we formed through the pandemic. And with all of that being said, stay around for Thursday, but definitely stay around to today. I think that, and you heard Alfred say it, this summit is about not only preparing for the rest of 2021 and the next year, but it really is about getting some meaningful information you can digest and use to reshape your business. So with that, I want to turn it back to you folks. Have a good time. I'm here to have a great time. I'm looking forward to learning some good things about this amazing area, South Florida, and more importantly, about Miami. So with that, Alfred, thank you for the privilege. And I turn it back to you, sir.
Thank you, Shane. It's us who are privileged. And I mean, I think you all can see the kind of leadership and the kind of excitement that Shane and Fiserv bring. So we're really extremely happy to welcome you all. But before we kick off the summit, let me just run through some of the logistics. As you all must be used to by now. You know that your microphones are muted. We've provided the chat box and kept it live because the chamber's about exchanging and networking. And so we want to have that opportunity for you all to do that. If you want to exchange ideas, if you want to post some links, please go ahead and do that. If you have a question for any of our speakers, we will have Q&A at every one of the portions of the seminar. We want you to use the Q&A feature. Please do that because that's really the only way we have a lot of people behind the scenes looking at the Q&A feature to float them up to Tom and the other hosts. So please use the Q&A feature for your questions. The webinar is recorded, as you all see, and it's going to be available later on today. And it is only for the use of chamber business and chamber members. If you need to use it, please get in touch with us and get written permission. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the Banking and Finance Committee Chair, Gladys Reed. She is one of our sponsors, and she is certainly no stranger to all of us at the Chamber. She's been a tireless leader and Chamber member for many, many, many years. I think, when I first started in '95, she had already been around. So I've known her and worked with her for many, many years. And, she's not only been working on Chamber issues when she's, off from Chamber business, as she moonlights as Senior Vice President of wealth management over at Ocean Bank, and we let her do that every once in a while. She's also a very active community member with the United Way, Habitat for Humanity, and so many other things. We are extremely honored to have her with us. Gladys, thank you for your leadership. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Alfred. I'm going to send you my check, by the way, after that. Listen, we're super excited for the Economic Summit this year. I love what Shane said. I agree. I want you all to, you know, kick back and have some fun with it, because I think you will. I think it's going to be very informative. And at the same time, it's going to be entertaining. And I thank you all for joining us this morning. I need to thank my partner in crime, Jay Pelham, who is the summit chair. He's done a great job. We've teased that we're kind of the Carrie Underwood and Brad Paisley of the summit, because after all, 2 years doing this together and we enjoy doing it. But I promise you that we're not the entertainment. We're not singing or dancing. I also need to thank my employer, Ocean Bank, for supporting the Economic Summit. Ocean Bank is a big supporter and fan of the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce. In fact, we're 38 years into our chamber membership. If my math is correct, that's almost about the time Ocean Bank started. So from the very beginning, very consistent. Ocean Bank has $4.7 billion in assets, and it is the largest independent state charter bank headquartered in Florida. On the lending side, so far this year, we've closed over $900 million in loans and advances to our borrowers. We are very active on the lending side. Our biggest loans so far, we've closed over $60 million to a portfolio of Florida investor properties. So we've been, again, in a pandemic year, super active on the lending side and supporting the commercial real estate market. If you have any questions and I can be a resource, my information is on the chat. And with that, I want to turn it over to another sponsor that we highly appreciate, Charlie Russo, Senior Director, Southeast Regional Head, Office America, Nuveen Real Estate. Charlie?
Hi, good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, Charlie.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I am Charles Russo, the Southeast Regional Head for the office sector at Nuveen Real Estate. In Miami, my office portfolio includes Waterford Business District, 701 Brickell, 801 Brickell, all of which have captured some great new-to-market demand from major companies, most recently Subway at Waterford Business District. Waterford Business District is a 250-acre corporate campus featuring over 3 million square feet of premier office space, notable business hotels, and new residential towers. Over the past 30 years, Waterford Business District has evolved into Miami's hub for global business and home to more than 1,200 local, regional, and global companies employing more than 11,000 individuals. The Business District offers an ideal location adjacent to Miami highs and potential new transit access points by nearby tri-rail stations, giving employees and visitors unique access throughout the region. In 2019, the joint venture between Nuveen Real Estate and Allianz led the rebranding and repositioning efforts of the campus in order to elevate the sense of arrival, improve 7 Class A office buildings, create collaborative outdoor spaces, and enhance employee experiences. Today, we completed more than $20 million in capital improvements and have more planned over the next 5 years. In addition to opening new cafes, tenant lounges, and rideshare Teslas and freebies, we're also in the new district, Waterford Business District tenant app. So in addition to that, we're Wired certified or in the process of finalizing our Fitwel certification. We have office spaces ranging from 1,000 to 75,000 square feet, as well as build-to-suit opportunities for corporate headquarters, which can accommodate an additional 1 million square feet. If anyone is interested in learning more about how you can secure office space in one of Florida's most progressive office campuses, please do not hesitate to reach out or to the Blanca Commercial Real Estate team or myself. You can look at our website at waterfordbusinessdistrict.com. Thank you all and look forward to a lively discussion.
Thank you so much, Charlie, and thank you again for being a sponsor. And with that, let's get started. It's such a pleasure to introduce Tom Hudson, Vice President of News and Special Correspondent, WLRN. I think everybody knows Tom. 91.3 FM, so please tune in. Tom is going to start with our Why Miami panel in such an exciting time in our community. Tom, I'll hand it over to you.
Gladys, thank you very much. And welcome everybody to the Economic Summit here in 2021. As Alfred mentioned, it's been 10 years of these economic summits. And I was lucky enough to participate in that first Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce Economic Summit in January of 2011. I remember the morning driving over the causeway in kind of this foggy, chilly January morning. And after several hours of robust conversations and panels, just having a beautiful, picture perfect Chamber of Commerce afternoon in Miami 10 years ago. Well, we can't rub elbows over the breakfast buffet this year at Jungle Island, but hopefully we will be able to do that soon again. So let's set the stage here. Think about all that has changed in the past decade of these economic summits from the Chamber. 10 years ago, South Florida was rebounding from a deep and devastating recession. Low interest rates were helping really boost the economy. Topics in that first summit included commercial real estate, tourism, banking, technology. Okay, so maybe not a lot has changed in the 10 years, but boy, a lot has changed in the 10 years. I mean, we have a tunnel under Biscayne Bay now that we didn't have 10 years ago, right? So if you were here 10 years ago, let us know in the Q&A, let us know in the chat, talk to us. We want to hear your comments and your questions for this panel of really 5 dynamic speakers who represent a breadth of experiences of Miami in 2021, right? Today's panelists are business professionals who've been living and working in South Florida for as long as 1 month to as long as 6 decades. That's what we have here for you. So let's begin here. Zach Dexter is along with us, the CEO of LedgerX. We'll talk with Zach here. He's on the earlier side of folks with experience here in Miami. On the later side, the veterans, Gary Carman with the GrayRobinson, Tom McAlpin with Virgin Voyages. They've been here for a good long time. Danet Linares with Blanca Commercial Real Estate also is a veteran of South Florida. Josh Schertzer with Blackstone Group, the enterprise technology portion of Blackstone Group, is also one of those new to market here. So let's start with the new to market folks. Zach, 1 month now as a South Florida resident. Is that about right?
Just coming up on a month. That's right.
All right. Well, congratulations. The cafecito and croquetas are on their way to you to celebrate that 1 month anniversary. Why Miami? Why Miami, Zach?
You know, so I'm CEO at LedgerX, which is a federally regulated Bitcoin derivatives exchange. So we're in the crypto space, and the crypto space in Miami today it's a hub. It was very small about a year ago, and the energy started building, and now everyone's down here. So I think that's a part of it. We were up in New York, and the regulatory environment there is I think a lot tougher for people in the crypto space. So it has a lot to do with the industry. There was a point in time though, at which we made a decision to come on down. The chamber and the DDA were sending us a flyer. They were sending a flyer to some New York-based businesses that said, "Hey, look, we've got a great tax situation. We've got a great regulatory situation. Oh, and the date on this flyer is February 1st, and the average temperature down here on February 1st is not, -20. So that was part of it. I think for our employees, when we went remote after COVID, there was this sense of, okay, I'm here. The cost of living is high in New York. What am I doing? Should I try something new? Should we go somewhere where there's a little bit more energy and optimism related to crypto and to the new frontier of finance? So I think all those factors came together for us.
So, crypto and blockchain, cutting edge technology, but Zach, you're saying that a brochure helps seal the deal? A pamphlet helps seal the deal for you?
Yeah, I think COVID opened up paths that were not there before. And the cities that are going to win coming out of this are going to take advantage of those paths. So you had businesses up in New York, like LedgerX, where we previously felt like we had to be there. It was the center of finance. We're operating a federally regulated platform. You got to be there to be taken seriously. But it was not necessarily the best place from a quality of life perspective for us and our employees. So a lot of our employees had asked me, look, we're paying $80,000 a month for the Manhattan office space. Should we spend that on salary and benefits? Should we spend that on growing the business? And my answer was resoundingly, yes, let's get out of here. We made the move last year. I think it was a group decision. It was a good decision. In looking at how the crypto space has evolved in Miami, I'm now down here. We have a few of our fund managers down here on our asset management, on the asset management side of things. More and more coming down every month. I think it was absolutely the right move, and yeah, it was precipitated by something small, right?
Yeah,
that's how these things start.
Yeah, there's usually a straw, or in our case, a temperature or a sunshine in January, February that can seal the deal. Josh, with Blackstone moving the enterprise technology here, that rang a bell for a lot of people that have been watching Miami grow, watching Miami in the technology space grow, in the financial services space grow. When a firm the size and with the reputation of Blackstone planted its flag here, I think that had a lot of people really stepping up and paying attention and say something may be different this time around. Take us back to those decisions internally that led to Blackstone bringing its flag to Miami.
Sure, will do. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. My name is Josh Schertzer, as Tom mentioned earlier. I'm the CTO of our enterprise tech group here at Blackstone. Just some quick background on Blackstone for those of you who aren't intimately familiar. We're one of the world's leading investment firms with just close to $650 billion of assets under management in alternative asset classes such as private equity, real estate, credit, and hedge fund investment strategies. And we invest that capital on behalf of pension funds and leading institutions. And we seek to create positive economic impact and long-term value for our investors, the companies we invest in, and the communities in which we work. And so, me being in technology, our mission as a technology team is to provide every Blackstone professional, investor, and portfolio company with best-in-class solutions that provide them with access to the data they need and enable the productivity they require from literally anywhere in the world. And so as you can imagine, technology plays a big part in that goal. And so when the firm is continuing to invest in technology in order to accomplish that, a large part of that investment in technology is growing our team. And so when we were thinking about the best way to do that, we wanted to do that in a way that helped us diversify our talent pool and enable ourselves to attract the best talent. And so that sort of brings us to why Miami. So we considered a number of U.S. locations across the country, and after careful and thoughtful decision process, I decided to go with Miami for a number of reasons. I'm actually going to go through 5. So first, as I mentioned earlier, it allows us to tap into a vibrant market that creates opportunities to diversify our talent pool and enhance retention. Secondly, we also believe that many people with the talent that we're looking for will want to live in Miami because Miami possesses a great combination of quality of life with a lower cost of living compared to other more expensive cities. Miami and South Florida, our area, also possess great colleges and universities with quality technology programs that essentially enable us to hire and develop junior talent and create jobs for them locally versus them having to move out of state. Miami is clearly a growing city with a decade's worth of work from a number of organizations to get us to this point. And it's a growing city in that we feel like we can contribute and give back to, which is a core value for us at Blackstone within the cities in which we work. So whether that's the creation of jobs, creating programs to provide opportunities for under-resourced communities, or any type of other volunteer programs, we think that Miami greatly positions us in a way where we can contribute back. And lastly, I would say that this is an extension of our team. Obviously, we have a big presence still in New York, and Miami is sufficiently proximate to our New York headquarters, located in the same time zone. It's an easy flight away, easy access to airports, and literally you can make that trip in a day without blinking of an eye. So all of those really check the boxes for us, and we're excited to be here.
How have the early days of the transition been, Josh?
So far, it's been excellent. We actually just closed. We just actually acquired. We essentially first leased 40,000 square feet, 2 floors of real estate in Miami Central, and then a couple of months later followed that up by actually acquiring that as part of a real estate investment in our real estate portfolio. So things have been great. Our hiring has been, I think actually better than expected. I think a combination of the COVID environment as well as the excitement around Miami and the technology space specifically has led us to this point.
Great. We got to hear more about the hiring, but you mentioned real estate, Danet. I got to bring you into the conversation here. You were directly involved with Blackstone and its flag planting and now purchase here. 30 years of experience you've shared with me here in South Florida. You remember the day when you left New York and decided to bring your talents to South Florida. Tell us why Miami now?
There is so much to offer in Miami. It's been incredible. And you know, I'll tell the story again of the last day that I was in New York. It was March. It was raining sideways. It was freezing cold. And I had to hold my umbrella sideways. And I said, I'm never going to have to do this again. And it was, you know, coming here to South Florida, and things have changed. I came in the early 90s and things were just starting to turn for the better. South Beach was really coming into its own. Downtown, there were some buildings that were Class A buildings that were built, you know, fantastic buildings. But we have seen an incredible change right now, and it's nothing that we've ever seen before. And everybody keeps asking, is this here to stay? Is this sustainable? And, you know, this is different. To have Blackstone here, and we were closely involved in that transaction, leasing them the 2 floors at Miami Central, that was a validator to us. And, you know, Blackstone doesn't make its decisions lightly. They really evaluate the market. And that was big for us. And so now what we've seen is we have about 1.9 million square feet of new to market tenants looking to relocate. That's a lot. Now, part of that 1.9 is Blackstone is there because their transaction happened at the end of last year. But since the pandemic, it's really opened the floodgates. People realize that they can work from anywhere, and why not work from this great environment. We're business friendly, we're open, we have great weather, and we're less expensive. We don't have nearly the amount of taxes that people in New York experience. And out of the new to market tenants that we're seeing, 50% are actually in the financial and the tech sectors, and nearly 60% of that are from New York. So we have really, you know, made an impact. I think also we have a very welcoming government, you know, with Mayor Francis Suarez and Mayor Daniela Levine Cava. They both opened their arms. You know, of course, Mayor Suarez with his tweet heard around the world, how can I help? And that really, you know, and that's what's happening here. It's like, we want to help. We want to, you know, what do you need? And how can we help you? I'm on the board of the Downtown Development Authority. So I was glad to hear that Zach received our email, you know, inviting him to come down. And what the DDA has done is they have this Follow the Sun campaign, where we've already invested in 12 companies. That'll create approximately 1,000 jobs in downtown with an average salary of $115,000. Another thing that we've seen is that the tech talent is here. So that's what's also attracting a lot of other tech companies to relocate here.
It's interesting that, you know, the weather continues to be among the many, many calling cards of Miami, the geography being another one. And none of us can take credit for either of those two features of Miami, but boy, we can certainly benefit from them. Tom, let me bring you into this conversation, because both of those were what attracted the cruise ship industry here so many decades ago, and attracted Virgin Voyages to be part of that. I mean, it's one of the original tourism industrial components that has helped build up the hospitality industry here in South Florida. So I'm going to flip the question just a little bit and ask why Miami in the future when it comes to the cruise industry particularly.
Good morning, Tom. Thanks for having me. You know, we have been working on developing this business for a number of years. We are the newest cruise line in the industry. We're so new that we haven't even launched yet. And we were supposed to launch a year ago, and literally coming across the Atlantic, and COVID broke. So we detoured the ship to Miami, and we've been kind of in a pause mode since then. We will ultimately have 4 ships, but we spent a lot of time thinking about, you know, where do we launch this company more than 8 years ago? And yes, it was about, you know, I would say 3 things in total. Geography, it's about the cruise capital of the world, but it's also about the brand. And of course, we're close to the Caribbean, so it makes sense for this industry. And we've got the year-round climate, which we spoke about. But also, you know, this is the cruise capital of the world, and it's by design that it is the cruise capital of the world. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of pool of talent for our people in our industry, but as you heard from other people talking about, a pool of talent for folks outside the industry. So great tech jobs, jobs in marketing that we've been able to source from. So we're happy about that. I think we also have a community here where they have invested in significant resources. I mean, think of what they've done in Port Miami and the investments that they made. You mentioned the tunnel earlier, but that's 10 years ago. Think of what it would be like today if we didn't have that tunnel. I mean, that has changed the Port Miami, I think, forever. They are also investing in new terminals along Dodge Island there. And they're building a $160 million terminal for our use right at the end. I think we've got the sweetest spot in all of Dodge Island, but they're investing in this, and there's great support from the Mayor Cava. The Board of County Commissioners understand that this is a growth engine, and they get it, and they're investing. They're even helping us solve problems like getting vaccinations for our crew. You know, the CDC came out with guidelines just last week and really encouraging all of our folks to make sure we have people that get on the ship that are vaccinated and our crew, and they're helping us do that. So we have a site on Port of Miami that started vaccinating crew as early as last week. I think, though, the other part of it is, how does this fit? And there was this fantastic fit between the Virgin brand and the brand of Miami, if you will. You know, we do a lot of research, and when we looked at kind of the words that were associated with the Virgin brand, and we pair that with the words that, you know, people think about Miami, and there's a lot of similarities. Words like luxury and sexy and fun and innovation, lyrical, music is a big part, you know, energetic, you know, entertaining, all of these things. There was this realization that this fits so well. We could be in other ports. We could be in Fort Lauderdale. We could be in Port Canaveral. We could be in New York, but it just makes sense to be in Miami. So those are the three major components that I think, you know, set Miami apart and made it home for us.
Well, Mayor Pitbull then thanks you for quoting there somewhat from some of his songs. Gary, let me say hello to you. Thank you for being patient here. Gary is the veteran here who's been in town practicing law 46 years. So Gary, by my count, you have survived and thrived at least 5 recessions, including the pandemic recession. That has a lot of story capability there. Why Miami now? Danet mentioned this time is a little different. What's different about this time?
You know, it's very interesting. I have been here for those decades, and I've seen the white elephants, the buildings in downtown Miami, the one Miami being built. And what's different today, though, is that the community has come together. The diversity has webbed us all together. The crisis has webbed us together, and our leadership is really leading. I think that we have leadership both in our school system. We have a wonderful superintendent who is paying attention to the needs of the community. He's out front dealing with that. He's improving our school system, which is very important. We have a county mayor. County government works. We have a county mayor who is looking for everyone's needs and looking to hear what the community needs. And of course, the city of Miami and the city of Miami Beach's mayors are also important. And so what we have today is unity. We have unity of interest. We have unity to live together, unity to work together, and a common interest to make this community an excellent place to survive and live in the future. And I think that all of us have seen our children basically adapt to Miami. We have a situation where people stay here and don't move. And so now we have an influx of people coming to see what we have seen over these years. We've seen, as you said, recessions. We've seen interest rates at 18%. We've seen Ted Gould build his buildings. We've seen the Biltmore survive. We've seen banks come and go. We've seen Barnett Bank go. We've seen SunTrust go. We've seen Southeast Bank go. But the resiliency of this community, the resiliency of banks like Ocean Bank, the resiliency of the people here are what make it great and make it survive. And that makes this community unique and something that everybody wants to be, I believe, part of.
And I think that's a great jumping off point to have this dialogue between 3 veterans of the South Florida business community that we have with us on this panel, and 2, shall we say, veteran business people, but rookies to the business climate in South Florida. And to the rookies, Josh, Zach, I'll call you that just because you're relatively new to the area. The fresh eyes that you can see the business climate, I think, is an important feedback for those of us who have been part of that climate for a good long time. Right? Fish don't see the water, oftentimes is what the saying goes. Josh, what have you experienced? What have you seen that you would like to share to the kind of business establishment? And Zach, I would like to hear that from you as well. And then for the veterans, we'd like to loop that back. What do they need to know based upon your experience? But go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, as I mentioned earlier, I think, there's been over a decade's worth of work from all these local organizations. Did I mention the DDA? There's also the Beacon Council and others. All have been, extremely supportive in, I would say, guiding firms looking to either extend or move to the greater Miami area. For me, that was for us rather, that was I think not a surprise, but it was definitely very warming, it was extremely helpful in guiding us into an area that we did not have that much experience in. And so we relied heavily on information they provided, introductions they provided. And I would say the second thing is, the folks on this panel and the broader community here that is very supportive of the Miami initiatives and the growing tech ecosystem here. Everybody is just extremely open to helping each other and helping each other build down here, that was a pleasant surprise to see how many people are involved and how much they, regardless if you're, competitors or not, how much they're happy to lend a hand in making introductions, like I said, and helping people out.
Josh, could you share with us an example of the type of introduction for you and the technology group at Blackstone that was really key?
Sure.
Really helpful?
We met Danet, who helped us with our real estate space via the DDA as a prime example. So, we went, things like that really guided us to a market that we just haven't had that much experience in.
Zach, how about for you? 1 month in how's the water feel 1 month in? What can you share with us about your experiences?
Yeah, it's great. I think there are two parts to the Miami experience for some of the smaller and faster moving tech companies, startups in particular. Right now, there's obviously a lot of momentum. And the question here from a lot of the panelists today is, how do we turn that into something sustainable? So you've got the momentum, you've got the fire. How do you bridge that into something longer term? I think to get it going, you've just got to be open. The how can I help mentality is such a great way to approach attracting tech and crypto and finance to this place in the first place. But now that everyone's here, how do you make that into a movement? And I think in many ways, cities go in cycles. We saw this in New York in the 2010s when we were building up there. When we launched the company in 2015, there was a lot of energy and capital flowing in from San Francisco. But then at some point, people kind of ossified and said, okay, well, we've got these businesses, what can we get? And you don't have that attitude here. I think we're on a more sustainable track where let's work together. There's optimism. There's a sense that we don't need to extract. We want to create a positive sum situation with the incoming players. So I think, everything is looking good in the short term, but I actually think that what's going on now will be sustainable beyond the next few years, because the attitude of how can I help is so clearly deeply ingrained in Miami in a way I think it is in some other places.
Danet, there's a line in Hamilton, the musical. The line is, it's not a moment, it's a movement. Mm-hmm. And Zach kind of articulated a little bit of that, talking about kind of being the new to market businesses being accretive to the business culture, not being extractive of the business culture. What can you share with them? What did you share with Josh? If you can take us into those conversations, but more generally share with them and others who are watching and listening from your deep experience of being additive, of kind of melting into the melting pot of the South Florida business community?
I think one of the differences between us and maybe a city like New York is the fact that we are so young, and the companies that are coming here can make a huge difference. And we're an entrepreneurial city. We've always been. And having them and their talents come here to help us grow and mold into a better city, we're all very welcoming. And I think that's really the difference between Miami and New York. And you could tell, look at the influence that we've already had through Blackstone. And I know Zach is going to make a huge contribution. Tom, I actually leased Tom's space up in Plantation as well. So it's funny that, it's kind of like full circle here with this panel. And it's very exciting to see everyone here and more companies coming. I mean, we have, it's like the floodgates have opened. And I have been seeing a lot of crypto companies, you know, coin-based companies coming into the market now, a lot of other financial firms, venture capitalists, Founders Fund made a huge impact by starting in Brickell. I was involved in that transaction. They are now leasing space in Wynwood. Atomic is also another big one. And Miami, last week, the unofficial Miami Tech Week has now is official. So next April, we have official Miami Tech Week. And it's just really the beginning. And this is, it didn't just start now. There are, several people that we have to thank. Manny Medina, with what he did, was a huge influence in the tech community here. My husband, Matt Hagman, when he was program director of Knight Foundation, and how he created the entrepreneurial initiative. And really, he was the first, how can I help? And also with the DDA's help and, all of that they're doing, of course, Mayor Suarez and his continued assistance. And Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, she wants to help and she is helping too. So it's really team effort. And I think that's something that is good for everyone coming here to know that we are a close community and we are here to help you. And all of the government agencies are working together. The Beacon Council has been tremendous as well. With Blackstone, I know they were very instrumental in that as well.
We've got some audience questions coming in the Q&A, and we're going to get to those before we wrap up. But I want to hear Tom and Gary and their perspectives. Tom here, what do those new to market businesses, what should those new to market businesses know of this business climate with your deep experience?
Well, what I really love about Miami is that, and as you've seen, the change, the culture that has emerged in Miami, and this fantastic diversity of white and Black and Haitian and the Jewish population. They all work together, very much focused on an international business climate. So we've got fantastic gateways to Europe and South America. And you really have this culture that has emerged, that it's a fun place to be. And I think people miss that because there's a lot of tangible things that you look at in growth and talent, but the intangible part of being in Miami is just a fun place to be. And, I just enjoy the diversity of the different cultures that are here.
Gary?
I would say I would have to look both to the past and to the future. The past of the leadership that decided that we needed an airport, that we needed a port of Miami, that we needed to have zoning rules and we needed to have construction and buildings. I would say that there's always an inclusiveness, that you can be part of an organization. You can join the chamber, you can join various organizations and make a difference. The other thing is that you can participate in this young city that has a cultural aspect of it, with the museums that are built, with the historical museum on the boulevard, with the Perez Museum, and with all the university museums. One of the greatest things is each of the fine universities we have, with Miami-Dade, FIU, and the University of Miami, they're all inviting. They're all welcoming you to participate, both as students, both as learners, and both to enjoy the culture they bring. And we can't forget that Miami also welcomes you with its ballet, it welcomes you with its opera, it welcomes you with its symphonies. This is a community that's growing, it's a community that's open, it's a community that welcomes participation and welcomes change. And the most important thing is that the leadership today is planning for the future and has the foresight to see what that future will be.
So that future is the post-pandemic future. Gary, I'm going to put this audience question to you first and try to get to as many of the panelists here. So short answer, this is a short answer portion of the panel here. What's the key challenge and the opportunity in the post-COVID economy in South Florida?
To get everybody back into an office situation and transportation. I think one of the biggest problems with growth is also the fact that infrastructure needs to be improved. And if anybody has noticed the traffic lately from going, back downtown and other places, traffic is back. So we need to plan for that. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we've got.
Traffic is back, not something we're going to see on a billboard on US 1 or the Palmetto anytime soon. Danet, how about for you, the key challenge and the opportunity post-COVID in South Florida?
Gary mentioned about getting people back into the offices. I would say that a lot of the offices are, they're occupied about 30%, but the occupancy rate in the buildings are still very high. And so what we're seeing is new to market companies coming in and absorbing the available spaces that maybe some companies that had to downsize or leave. And so we're in a very fortunate situation. The transportation element is definitely, I agree. But what Brightline did was open the routes. So now we're connected from Miami to Palm Beach, and I can't wait for the line to start towards the end of the year. And then they're going to Orlando, and that's made a huge impact and difference in our community as well.
Tom, opportunity challenge post-COVID.
Yeah, I think that the opportunity and challenge here is about how do you get people that are used to working from home, and what does that new normal look like, right? Is it a combination? Is it making people come back to the office? Certainly, we lose productivity when people are outside the office, but you gain productivity in some regards. But we've been doing this for 14 months now. Our people are so used to it. Can we get back to everybody working in the office? Does that make sense? Where it's an opportunity for me, I've got 3 floors here. I haven't used the 7th floor at all. So we have potentially an opportunity to now have people, our call center, I don't need to have them in this building anymore. We have proven over the past year that we can have folks working remote, which is a great thing because now I can source from this market and outside this market. So there's both the positive and negatives associated with that.
Josh, what do you think? New to market for you?
Yeah, I think I'd have to echo my fellow panelists here. I think, obviously, getting folks back into the office, will be challenges for some firms. Here at Blackstone, we definitely feel that we're our best when we're together, and we're going to try to get as many people back in as quickly as we can. Obviously, doing that, I think, companies putting in the right protocols, whether that's testing or social distancing measures, et cetera, things, contact tracing, things to make people feel comfortable. And then it also echoed Danet again on the transportation thing. It was one of our key themes when we leased the space was the bright line, simply because we knew that when folks came back to the office, we'd be able to attract talent from further up north without having them having to sit in traffic and stuff like that. And obviously it played into our real estate theme as well.
Zach, is back to office on your list at all?
We are a remote company. So I think the challenge is going to be to keep the momentum going, but there are a couple of ways you can leverage the lessons we've learned from remote. I mean, one is you can improve the quality of life for your employees, whether it's a couple of days out of the office, whatever. We're going to be probably full remote for a long time. So I'm actually planning to fly in a lot of our employees who are working out of South America, the Caribbean region, especially on the tech side, and kind of have this be a hub for meetings and planning and strategizing. Focus a little bit more on the quality of life and leveraging the ability to fly in the international folks after COVID.
2 minutes left here with us. Couple of directed questions. Zach, to you, what opportunities should experienced financial or tech professionals explore in the new crypto finance space?
Definitely DeFi. Decentralized finance is huge. The people who win that space will combine highly regulated, well-governed entities with the new DeFi technology you're seeing being built on Ethereum today.
To Zach, Josh, and Danet, what opportunities in the financial services technology space for current Miami mid-level, senior level, and new employees who are already here, not bringing in folks into Miami? Josh, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we have a number of opportunities. I'll use this to plug ourselves a little bit. All of our jobs are on Blackstone.com or on a career site. But there are, look, I think, this is an extension of our team. There's not a role within technology within our organization that's not open down here. So I would say, take a look at the site. But honestly, if you're interested in a role within anywhere in the technology space or broadly, the energy down here is picking up, specifically within the financial and technology ecosystem, and there's opportunities here for everybody.
Danet, what are you hearing with all those financial services firms you're working with?
Jobs. Our unemployment fell to 8.2% from 12.6% from last September. And so all of these companies coming in are creating new jobs, good paying jobs. Like I mentioned, the DDA's program with 1,000 jobs with an average salary of $115,000. That's incredible. And so that's really what's helping. And it's also helping our schools too. So they need the talent. And then the schools in South Florida are doing very well. And we're getting other schools that are coming in here. So I would say that the big message is we've got the jobs and the opportunity here.
Tom, when is the first cruise for Virgin Voyages out of Port Miami?
So end of September 22nd, we'll be here. We're going to start in the UK with a series of shorter cruises, then to Port Miami, which is our home. I think answering your earlier question, I think we need to not underestimate that people have not been able to travel. And tourism is so important. Yes, we want to diversify, but let's not forget tourism. There's going to be a boom in travel, and we're already beginning to see it. Everybody wants to get out. The number one thing that people miss from COVID is not being able to get out of the house and travel. So I think we in South Florida need to be ready for that, capitalize on that boom.
Gary, I'm going to give you this final, very important question for the new to market folks in the Miami business climate. You have weathered decades of hurricane seasons. For the new to market folks, what do they must have in their hurricane kit coming up?
You know, a radio that works on batteries.
That's right. And tuned to 91.3 FM. That's right, Gary. Well done. Well done, Gary.
Very good.
Listen, thank you to the panelists. Much appreciated. A lot of great conversation and a lot of additional conversations to be had. My thanks to the chamber, to the audience. Thank you for the great questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them. Alfred, to your team, always great to work with. And always a big thank you for allowing me the opportunity to wear a tie in my own house. So thank you to everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom, and all the panelists. Wow, great discussion. I just wish we had more time for more Q&A. I wanted to hear more, and I think the participants too. By the way, we have great participation today. I'm going to ask you all, please stay right through noontime because it's going to be a treat the way we're going to end today's session. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our platinum sponsor, somebody who's a big fan of the Chamber, Chairman-elect, Executive Director for Career Source, Rick Beasley.
Good afternoon, Gladys. Thank you so much. I first want to start, I got a little note for you, Gladys, but I first want to start off in thanking Alfred, you and your wonderful staff, and the work that you all have done to help reposition this community, our business community, to make sure they're strong. To our fearless leader, Irene White, thank you for what you do, your commitment to this community. And thank you, I want to thank FP&L for allowing you to give us your time and your effort. But to Gladys, Reed, you and Jay Pelham, I want to thank you all for leading a group of outstanding leaders to put together this wonderful economic summit. It is one of the key activities and events for this community to help lead, help guide, help provide direction. And in this time, I think the Chamber has stepped up with leaders like you two in your committee. I thank you for all the work that you all have done. Fantastic job. To our business community, please reach out to the Chamber and the wonderful events that we put on to help grow, to help keep our community thriving. And so on behalf of Career Source South Florida, it is our esteemed pleasure to be able to be a sponsor. I do want to digress just a little bit and thank Shane Caldwell and Pfizer for your commitment. And I thank you for your continuous support and being the lead or the presenting sponsor for this event. But Shane, you and I have some things to talk about. We may have to discuss that. But on behalf of Career Source, our goal really is to build and enhance talent. For over 30 plus years, this organization, we've gone from South Florida Workforce to Career Source South Florida. Our role has always been to build talent for our business community, to help build talent that is in the need of those industries that will grow. I want to thank the Chamber and you all stepping up and partnering with us during this pandemic and helping providing additional resources so that our community, our businesses will grow through our layoff aversion fund and the CARES Act and the programs that you all put on. I thank you. Your leadership has been tremendous. But Career Source has been partnering not only with the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, but also with the Beacon Council and others to help ensure that our businesses grow. So let me say this, that there's a number of initiatives that will launch. Again, I mentioned one through our layoff aversion fund, but we've also kicked off particular initiatives called Operation Impact that will ensure the citizens of this community have the resources as they pivot and move through this pandemic. But there's a number of projects that we've launched, and I welcome, and I'm looking forward to our notes, our speaking engagement from our Mayor Kaufman, in launching Renew 305, and enhancing how talent is built for this respective community. And so Career Source South Florida, our role is investing in talent to ensure that our businesses are able to grow and foster. I do want to mention that we have a wonderful launch with Women in Tech and partnering with the Carrie Meek Foundation, with YWCA, New Horizons Training Component. We're launching this initiative to help grow more women in the area of IT. So if you're a business, please reach out to my agency, Career Source South Florida, 305-929-1501, to help us look at your talent needs. We've been working with a number of industries to help do major recruitments for them, but again, our role is to help build talent. So with this event, I want to thank all the businesses who have joined us, who continue to be a part of us. This event, the Economic Summit, is a major event in helping guide and move and providing not only resources to our businesses, but more importantly, help provide a direction for where we need to go in helping keeping Miami grow and become the world-class city that we know it is. And so Alfred, again, my hat's off to you. You all have done a fantastic job. But Gladys and Jay, I can't say enough that with leaders like you in the chamber, this next couple of years will be fantastic. And so I thank you on behalf of Career Source South Florida. We again want to welcome all folks to join the chamber and help grow our community. Thank you.
Hey, Rick, this is Shane. I just wanted to say, hey, thanks a lot for those kind words. And it sounded like, if I heard you correctly, you were putting a gauntlet down for
it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
For the presenting sponsor. Okay.
Well, I think before we were the presenting sponsor. I guess I must have been fighting COVID.
Okay.
But I'm thankful what your company has done and anything we can do to help. But I like that you toss off the gauntlet so that other businesses would join. But
absolutely.
Talk about next year. We're going to talk about next year. Okay?
Yeah, I love the spirit. I love the spirit of that back and forth. And I'll say this, and then segue this over to Jay, is that it's again companies like Career Source, companies like Blackstone, and others who've said, I'm going to not only stand up and join the chamber, but I'm going to get on the playing field. And so, thank you for being on the playing field, Rick. And in honor of my good friend Alfred, I've shed my tie. I've lost my jacket, and I'm in for some good conversation. So back to you, Jay.
Right. Great. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Rick. Good morning, everybody. So good morning and welcome to the second session of day one of the Greater Miami Chamber's 2021 Economic Summit 305 Revive. So that's a mouthful. My name is Jay Pelham, and I would ask that you please notify the media in the White House right away that I am doing my part to stimulate the economy in terms of employment, because I have many jobs today. My day job, the one that pays me, is leading a registered investment advisory firm, Kaufman, Rossin Wealth, a subsidiary of Kaufman Rossin, where we provide wealth advisory services based upon a foundation of financial planning. In terms of other jobs, I'm a member of Gladys Reed's Banking and Finance Committee for the Chamber, and I chair this year's Economic Summit. In a few moments, my job will be serving as moderator for today's session on ESG investing. But first, my job is to introduce one of our sponsors today, Wells Fargo, and run the tape.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hector Ponte, and I am the Wells Fargo Region Bank President for South Florida. It's an honor to be here with you all virtually, representing Wells Fargo as a sponsor during the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce's 2021 South Florida Economic Summit. The past year has had its own fair share of unique challenges. And as we all know, South Florida hasn't been immune to these. Like the rest of the nation, our local communities and businesses have felt the impact of the pandemic. Through it all, Wells Fargo has remained committed to helping our local community during these times, especially supporting the heartbeat of our local communities, small businesses. We served more than 194,000 customers through the Paycheck Protection Program, which helped small businesses get the resources they need to keep their doors open, their employees employed, and their customers' needs met. In 2020, we served more than 49,000 Florida customers with PPP loans, totaling $949 million and representing more than 139,000 jobs in the state. As a company, we also committed to donate all gross processing fees from the PPP loans during 2020 and 2021 and created a $400 million diverse small business recovery effort called the Open for Business Fund, which supports small businesses hardest hit by COVID-19. Locally, just recently, we presented a $500,000 Open for Business Fund contribution to the Central County Community Development Corporation for the creation of their new Diverse Capital Dream Fund. In spite of the challenges, when we talk to our local business owners and community, we all sense optimism. That optimism doesn't surprise me. It's tied to the resiliency and strength of our business owners and our local South Florida residents who will do whatever it takes to keep their goals, dreams, and results of their hard work alive. I'd like to thank you for also helping keep these dreams alive by engaging in important efforts that uplift and empower our South Florida community, like this economic summit. On behalf of Wells Fargo, thank you and enjoy the rest of the program.
Okay, thank you, Wells Fargo. So now we begin our session on ESG investing. The acronym ESG represents the terms environmental, social, and we'll call it corporate governance. Today, so we can learn more than just what this acronym means, we have an expert in the field, Sam Adams, CEO and co-founder of Vert Asset Management, previously 20 years with Dimensional Funds, one of the largest mutual fund companies you've probably never heard of. He joins us from Orange County, California, and we're glad to have him today. So first, Sam, is there anything you'd like to add to your introduction besides a disclaimer regarding beer companies, of course?
Yeah, I am not the beer company. Thanks for having me, Jay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And after listening to that last session about the business climate in Miami, it kind of makes me want to go there. I should be there rather than here. That's pretty obvious.
Well, look, we're glad to have you, and we've identified the terms, but let's start. Sam, maybe can you provide us with some context on this concept? We'll call it the who, the what, and the why for ESG investing. We'll start there.
Yeah. Well, the first question is, what is it, right? It used to mean something actually quite specific, but it's become so popular that now ESG is the term that people use for any form of responsible, sustainable, ethical, or any type of values-based investing. They just call it ESG. but we've lost some of the power of the definition when we use it as an umbrella term rather than its specific and original purpose. So let me kind of break that down for you. The category of responsible or values-based or sustainable investing, that overarching group of types of investing, can probably be broken down into three types: ESG, SRI, and impact. Impact is when you take some capital and you put it into a specific project. Like, I'm going to help this affordable housing unit develop in downtown area, or I'm going to send some money to alleviate poverty in Africa. It's very specific, kind of a for-profit version of philanthropy. SRI stands for socially responsible investing, and that's where you tune the portfolio to your particular values. Like, I don't want to invest in guns, and I don't want to invest in abortion, and I have a problem with alcohol and tobacco, or I want to invest in certain things. So it really is your personal values and personal politics at play in SRI. And ESG is different. Rather than looking at what you want, it looks at the companies and says, what is their environmental and social and governance issues that could affect their material value? Right. So let's take a shoe company, for example. Is that shoe company reliant on some cheap and abundant natural resources like rubber and water? What would happen if those got scarce or expensive? How would that affect their financials? What kind of pollution are they generating? And as they grow, are they going to create a problem for the community that could become a problem for them? How are they treating their workforce? Do they rely on cheap labor in Southeast Asia where there might be some human rights abuses? That's kind of the S portion. And then, of course, is the board having good governance oversight over the management's decisions? Do they have good risk controls in place? Those types of things. So ESG is more about looking at the company and seeing how they're going to adapt to the risks and opportunities of the future around those three dimensions: environment, social, and governance.
Right. So let's stay kind of big picture for a little while. We'll get into small picture. In 2020, some reports show that there were new dollars of as much as $50 billion last year invested in ESG funds. And according to Morningstar, there's more than 6,000 funds that are identified as ethical, and I'll use that term in quotes. So look, talk a little bit about the landscape. Are there funds that are 100% only ESG funds, or is it a trend where all companies are being influenced by this movement? Do established funds have ESG influences? Give us a little flavor for the landscape there. And
Sure.
Again, we'll get small picture in a few minutes.
So here's the great thing about that explosion in interest in ESG investing over the last couple of years, right? All that new money flowing in means that the financial services company have responded with launching lots of new mutual funds and ETFs and different financial products that investors can use for sustainability. That's the good news, right? We have more options. It also means we can choose between like a large, like that 6,000 list where they're just barely ethical, some of those in there. That's a really broad church, to the more narrowly defined Morningstar categorizes 392 funds that are specifically integrating ESG into their processes in the way they select securities for the portfolio. So that's a little more deeper. But even within that group, you could get a fund that has, say, 450 of the 500 stocks in the S&P 500. So it's holding most of them, only excluding a couple. Or you could select the fund that holds only the top 50 most sustainable companies out of that group of 500. And you get different tilts to sustainability in there, right? And you're also going to get different performance. One's going to do better when sustainable companies do better. And the other one's going to look more like the market, right?
And for those of us that don't work in the industry, what is a tilt? What does that mean?
Oh, so like you could say, I'm going to focus more on just the most sustainable companies. So I'm going to have a narrow list of, say, 50 or 100 companies. So the whole portfolio is invested in sustainable leaders. Or we're just going to kick out some bad guys. We're going to hold hundreds and hundreds of stocks. So the degree which you overemphasize the sustainability leaders is that kind of tilt towards sustainability or towards ESG. Sorry.
So Vanguard, the well-known low-cost fund provider, they have a social index fund that in 2020, it showed returns of 23% versus the S&P of only 18%. Generally speaking, is ESG a good strategy in terms of return on investment? Is it sustainable? Is this a flash in the pan, or is this something that's here to stay?
It can be a good, it can have a good influence on performance, but I wouldn't want you to think that just by being ESG or labeling ESG, you're going to have better performance, right? There's good small cap managers and there's bad small cap managers. There's good ESG managers. There's bad ESG managers. So it's really incumbent upon the investor to figure out when they do their due diligence, what is a good strategy here. Now, overall, if you invest more in sustainable companies that are doing better on ESG, are you going to have more performance? That has been the case lately. And it seems it's a compelling idea that will happen going forward. But really, ESG, if you think about it, is more about reducing some of the risks that the company that you're taking when you invest in these companies. You know, if you avoid companies that don't have good data security, if you avoid companies that have pollution problems, if you avoid companies that have labor strife and human rights issues, you might avoid a blow up in your portfolio. So it might not be that you have outperformance in terms of returns. You might get lower risk as well.
So you just mentioned a keyword there, data. You know, so before this movement, we'll call it, someone would look to invest in a company and they get their company financials and they look to see how much debt did they have and they look at some ratios. And now there's a whole slew of additional data, you know, what their carbon footprint is and board governance and what type of diversity they have on their board. Talk to us a little bit about this additional set of data and is it reliable? You know, talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So it's important to know that ESG investing is really only about 15 years old. The term was coined in around 2005. So it's kind of new. And before then, right, our analysis of companies was really limited to the balance sheet, the income statement, you know, the financial metrics. And ESG data was called extra financial or non-financial. Now we've gotten a lot more of it. And we realize that it has links to the financial outcomes of the company. But that effort of getting more data is a big part of this kind of evolution in capitalism, right? So now investors, all these, and like the amount of money that's invested on some type of sustainability criteria is 1/3 of all professionally managed assets in the U.S. That's a lot, right? So those investors are going out and asking companies, please give us data on your diversity in your employees, in your leadership. Please give us data on your emissions. Please give us data on how much natural resources you're consuming. Please give us data on your risk controls. And all that new data, okay, is flooding into the investor marketplace, and we're all trying to make sense of it. Some of the data is good, some of it's not so good. There's a big effort underway to standardize it, so it'll be like accounting data. It will be like, you know, GAAP accounting data, where we can say, oh, the emissions figure from Ford is, I can compare that to the emissions figure from GM, and I'm doing a like for like comparison. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're trying to get there.
And I guess with all of this data, we had the previous discussion about this. You sometimes have a paradox where you've got a company that maybe you can check the box in one area, but not the other. And we talk about a company like a Tesla, where it's known as environmentally friendly in many respects, but there's some questions and challenges around their board governance.
Yeah. I mean, companies are complicated things, right? They're like people. You're not going to get a 100% virtuous person. Well, I haven't met that person yet, right? You're probably not going to get a 100% sustainable company, right? And like you said, Tesla's a good example. Their product is environmentally friendly, right? There's no emissions from the car once it's running. But they have some governance issues, right? Elon, the way he runs the company, kind of like the king, or, you know, the techno king, I think he calls himself. And some of the issues are how hard they push their employees when they're trying to crank out those cars at the end of the quarter. Yeah, that's, you know, so some people look at that and say, oh, they're not as responsible or sustainable as other companies in that regard. So there's an important distinction to be made between the data, right, which we can then interpret, and then the ratings that are assigned to them. And I kind of look at it this way: the data we want to be standardized, but then we want different rating agencies like Sustainalytics and Morningstar and these different entities to have different opinions and say, oh, this is a sustainable company and this is not so much a sustainable company. Just like we ask the analysts to say this is a buy, this is a hold, this is a sell, right? We want that diversity of opinion, but we want the data to be standardized.
So Sam, there's a term that you sometimes hear out there called greenwashing. What is greenwashing and what does that mean?
Well, when ESG got popular, when people started to recognize that the term is associated not with underperformance, like SRI kind of was, more and more funds just started grabbing that label and attaching it to their fund, right? And launching more funds around it. And there's a spectrum of funds that really are trying to be sustainable and ESG, and other ones that are kind of just using the label. And so now we're in this situation where people are asking a lot of questions. With this explosion in ESG everywhere, what really is ESG? And that's why I use that term tilt, right? It's not like there's a black and white line, this is sustainable or this is ESG and this isn't. It's really a spectrum. And it's, you know, it's upon the investor to be able to look into those, what those portfolio managers are doing and say, oh, this one is very light ESG. It's not really, it's just kind of adding it kind of around the edges, or this one's really committed to ESG, and choosing which one suits your portfolio. So the Europeans are trying to regulate the, you know, what's green and what's not. I don't know if that's the right approach. Maybe more transparency would be good, and more tools to analyze the funds would be good. And we're getting those from some of the big providers.
Great. So that's a good segue. So we read some things about the NASDAQ wanting to have certain requirements on their board composition. The SEC is making some noise about regulating the ESG component. Talk to us a little bit about regulation of this part of the financial services industry.
So here's a good example of good regulation. The UK in 2012 passed a law that said any company that's listed on the London Stock Exchange needs to report their greenhouse gas emissions, just like they have other reporting requirements. When you're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, you have to report your earnings, you know, and those types of things. So that means that emissions figure for public companies in London, or listed in the London Stock Exchange, needed to be reported along with their financials. Now that makes sense. Then everyone's going to get like for like comparable metrics. That's a good regulation. Forcing companies to do X, Y, or Z rather than A, B, or C, I don't know about that. What we'd really want to see is capitalism take this up, and that's kind of our mission here. Is by moving a whole bunch of money into sustainable or ESG investing, it encourages companies to do more around it, to report more of that data. That data becomes standardized, and then it becomes part of the allocation decision that capitalism is so efficient at, right? If there's a price on pollution and a value to clean air, right, then capitalism and companies will decide to avoid the costs of pollution and try to attract the value of clean air. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with ESG, is get that data into the pricing system, so naturally capitalism pushes us to have a more sustainable economy.
Great. So now that our audience has a little more context, tell us about your company.
All right. So I've spent, as you said, 20 years at a big mutual fund house, Dimensional Fund Advisors, doing conventional investing. And when I found out about ESG investing and how it can help mitigate some of the effects of climate change and income inequality and all these problems that we have, I got really excited. And I said, that's what I want to do with my life. And so I started a company with my wife and co-founder, and it's Vert Asset Management. And what we do is we help financial advisors invest more sustainably using ESG. And so the first thing that we did was we launched a global real estate fund that's an ESG strategy. And so we invest in the public real estate companies that are doing more for the environment, doing more for their people, and have better risk controls. And I got to give a shout out to Josh from Blackstone that was on the previous panel. Blackstone is obviously a very big financial services company. They have a lot of real estate investments, and they just last week hired four of my friends in the sustainability arena in real estate. These guys are true leaders, these four friends from Australia, from the US, because they've taken a big step up in their commitment to ESG. And that's kind of what we want to, that's what we're trying to encourage happen, right? Big companies and little companies start making more commitments to ESG. And we think by helping investors move more money to that, it'll encourage more companies to do what Blackstone is doing and get more committed to sustainability.
Look, you know, you got into this segment of the industry because of your personal passion. I know a lot of clients I talk with, this is almost displacing philanthropy in some ways, is their way to support causes that they've got to build a portfolio that they'll need to live off of one day in retirement, and they can't afford to give large chunks of money to different causes, but they can, while they're an active investor and have these funds that they've accumulated, decide how they're going to support certain companies and certain causes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, for a long time, we really had only two options, right? Make as much money in your investment portfolio, right? And not really look at any of the environmental or social outcomes there, right? We're just chasing the money and then giving the money away in our philanthropy portfolio. It was like this two-pocket approach to our finances. And as you said, more and more investors are finding out, like, wow, it'd be really nice to kind of take my investment capital and make that part of the solution rather than, you know, as much part of the problem. And I think that's a lot of the motivation for people. Now that people are realizing there's tools out there to do that without compromising their financial goals, it's becoming very, very popular.
So speaking of passions, you're writing a book.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Larry, who was your speaker on this last year, right?
That's right. We had a fireside chat with Larry Swedroe last year on retirement planning. Yes. Yeah. So you're co-writing a book with Larry. Tell us about the book.
Well, the book is the Essential Guide to Sustainable Investing, and it's really trying to help cut through all this confusion and noise that's developed as it's become more popular and it's proliferated and there's all these products out there. It's got some stories in it. You know, the space is really confusing, but by using some stories, we can explain it a bit easier. I'll tell you one. When I moved back to the US, my wife and I lived in London for 10 years. When we came back, my mom was really excited to have us visit, but I could tell she was a little nervous. And I said, Mom, what's the problem? She said, well, you guys like that organic food, and I didn't really know what to do with that. I don't know how to cook that stuff. I said, Mom, it's easy. You come up with the same menu plan, the same shopping list. You go to the same grocery store. But when you reach for the milk, grab the organic milk. When you reach for the bread, grab the organic bread. If they don't have it, just get the regular stuff. That's fine. Come home, cook it up. We'll eat it. We'll be happy. She's like, oh, that's really easy. I said, yeah. Of course, you know, I thought about sustainable investing. I'm like, this is just like sustainable investing. But then she hit me with this question. She's like, well, if it's all the same, what's the point? And I said, well, we like putting organic food in our bodies rather than conventional because we think there's less nasties in it, frankly, right? There's less pesticides and stuff like that. We don't really know, but it seems like it would be better and healthier for us. But we also like sending a signal to the marketplace. We like sending a signal to the grocery store, which sends a signal to the food producers, more organic food, please. Because we think there's, you know, we're doing some damage to our environment with the agricultural system and all the pesticides. And we'd like to lighten up on that, maybe come up with some solutions. And so we think just that little vote with our purchasing decision is helpful. And so I kind of look at sustainable investing the same way. There's a lot of people who say, you know, I want less nasties in my portfolio and I'd like to send a message to companies, please do better if you can.
Great. So we've got a couple questions, I think, but before we turn over to any questions, anything else that you want to be sure you message today while we're together?
Well, I want to just be clear that people understand that, you know, companies are changing around this. This effort to get a lot of people into sustainable investing is making changes. The amount of public companies out there and private like Blackstone who are ramping up their commitments, setting net zero pledges to get to zero emissions by 2050. You know, all the big guys like Apple and Google and Microsoft and Facebook, they have all done that. When they do that, all the companies that work for them, all their supply chains start doing those, have to do those things as well. And our real estate is a great example. The offices that those companies are going to occupy are going to be green building certified. They're going to have lower emissions. They're going to have healthier air. And this just feeds a whole evolution to a more sustainable way of operating for everyone. And we think it's great news that everyone's investing this way now.
Look, you know, there always needs to be some level of regulation in business, but what's exciting for me is that there will be a lot that gets accomplished without regulation.
Yeah.
By transparency of information, the consumer will make choices, and you can see companies getting ahead of that curve. You know, look at Amazon with all their electric trucks they plan to implement, and go down the list of companies that they're thinking, hey, I need to be ahead of this issue. Or people are going to vote with their shares that they choose to purchase or not purchase in companies.
I like to say you don't need regulation when the price is better, right? if the wind farm is cheaper than the coal, the wind farm's going to win regardless of who's in office and who said what, right? And so that's what we're trying to do, is get capitalism to work on this.
Well, and conversely, there's going to be times when people are willing to pay more, like those organic vegetables that cost more than the rest. Well, let's see. I think we have a question here, and this is a question that ties into employment. It says, do the metrics include possible negative effects on employment? Is the new technology creating enough new employment? Is there a lag? So I guess, you know, maybe we'll just kind of put this in the category that there's employment issues that go with these decisions. And
yeah, I mean, one of the things that we got to worry about with new technology is displacing any existing employees. But one of the things that the sustainable transition is starting to recognize is that there needs to be some justice around that, right? So, you know, if you're saying we're going to move away from coal, you got to do something with the 50,000 coal people that work in coal, the 50,000 people in the U.S. that work in coal. Like, you got to give them training or another job or support until you know, there's a transition there. And there's plans to do that at the individual company level. I don't think there's a metric that says, are we hiring less or more? But there are positive metrics. People say, hey, this is how many jobs we employ. This is how much money we put into the community. And those are important metrics.
Great. Well, look, we may have one more question here. We'll give it just a moment, and then if not, we'll wrap up here. How's the weather in Orange County today?
It's gray. I feel like being in Florida. I'm coming to South Florida in 2 weeks' time. I'm very excited about it. That travel is back on, and I'm excited to get out and see your part of the world.
Well, we're glad to welcome you here. Well, look, it looks like that's it for questions. So Sam, thank you very much for your engagement today. This is a great topic, very top of mind for everyone. And do you have a website for your company if people want to learn more about that?
Sure. It's Vert Asset, VERTASSET.com. And you can check out our efforts to make the world more sustainable.
And we talked about this in an earlier conversation. And how did the name come about? Vert?
There's a mountain in France. I'm a mountain climber, and it's called the Green Mountain. And of course, Vert is green in French. And so we thought it was a good moniker for our company.
Great. Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. And I'm going to segue us into our next session now. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. So we are incredibly fortunate today to have the art icon Romero Brito, his CEO Lucas Vidal, and Katie Fang from MSNBC as our guest today. And the employer that pays me, Kaufman Rossin, sponsors this session today. So not only am I incredibly excited about this next segment, but I continue to help the employment numbers by adding more jobs. Kaufman Rossin sponsorship actually takes the form of underwriting the video expense, so I get to add executive producer to my job list. So without further ado, let's get this show started.
Hi and welcome. I'm Katie Fang, and of course, this is the incredible Romero Brito, who's really opened up with this generosity to be able to let us come to his palace and to be able to see where everything happens in terms of the magic that is Romero Brito.
We are here at the Brito Palace. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy the journey in this place that I create so many images of hope and happiness.
The Brito Palace is a 60,000 square feet headquarters of the Brito brand. On the second floor, we have the Brito Studios. That's where all the fine art creation happens. And on the first floor, we have the Brito Central, which is the center of operations of the brand and of the business overall. So the palace was created to not only run the business, but also to have here the most incredible CEOs, the most incredible companies, and the most incredible fans and supporters of Romero's art.
This place here, when I moved to this building here, I thought, why not have a room that we can host big parties?
Through years, Romero has always had a passion for the royals and for the royalty world, and now he has his own palace.
What went into trying to decide what you wanted to put in here?
We wanted to show things that were like a large scale, but also things that were somehow connected. Like those one here, I did, inspired the Italian icons like Carla Bruni here, Maria Callas, and Pavarotti there. And then I have some religious icon as well. Like I did my inspiration in Venus, the Botticelli there, and David. Mostly because, we were hosting here, an Italian icon, on the Botticelli. So that's why we put all these here.
So so there's a theme then
there was
that you kind of
theme,
pick
yes.
up on when you're doing certain events in this space.
Yes, yeah.
And these are big.
Yeah, but I've done like sculpture like, 45 feet tall, like massive, the one. I did a huge one in Hyde Park with a temporary installation and it was fantastic. But I do have here very large sculptures, Singapore, and I have also in Beijing, like so many places around the world. Yeah, it's really nice. And in Brazil, like 16 airports, I have sculptures. In Russia, Switzerland, Germany, yeah, so many places.
Romero, you are an icon, but this is iconically Brito. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Absolute Vodka campaign and what that meant for you as an artist?
Well, Absolute Vodka was like a dream come true to any artist. Imagine that nobody knows you and one day you have this company who beside of spending so much money, promoting their brand, they also had a history and connection with the arts. They commissioned first Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and Michel Roux, who I'm so thankful always to him. He saw that my art could connect to people in such a way that he commissioned me to do 3 pieces, and those pieces become ad campaign for Absolute Vodka. I mean, imagine that one day you're showing work in the streets, and next day your work is like, showing magazines, beautiful magazines. And then things start like happening with my art because of that. I was like, nobody knew about what I was doing, And then all of a sudden, my work was seen like by millions of people in North America. And then I did other projects such as, billboards. I did fashion with him, and it was really an incredible collaboration. Opened the doors for me to, share my work with so many other brands.
So your breakthrough moment was Absolute. Amazing, incredible, but how did it feel to be able to do Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Disney, which is yet another kind of iconic just representation of America?
I was going crazy. I mean, I had to tell you, I was so happy. And one of those moments that you had to stop and you just had to like, wow, that's amazing, breathe. And then you said, you know what, I had to keep it going. The first piece I ever did, this collaboration that I did with Disney, and
that's the very first piece.
It's really the first one,
see this here?
And I kept the number one. Yeah, it was
it
was an edition, and I kept the first one. It was great.
Romero Brito is a very unique artist because he already transcended the arts world. He's a synonym of a brand because it's the Brito brand. He's a world-famous artist, has had exhibitions over 100 countries, including the Louvre twice. And he's also an adjective because anything that's colorful, it's fun, basically became a Brito.
How has your art influenced your life? How does your life influence your art?
Oh my God, listen, my art is my life is my art. You know what I mean? It's like so together. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what would happen to me if I didn't have my art, because there's so many moments that I was, you know, from the past and even today, you know, moment that I'm just with my art. It's just this dialogue that I have to put all out, you know, that I feel, you know. And luckily I've been able to do so well because I always try to do my best, because once you try to do your best, you cannot go wrong. And I never really understood what I was doing all the time on this. It was just happening. I never really stopped to think because so many things happening. And one friend of mine, Professor Daniel Shapiro, he's a teacher at Harvard, he told me, Romero, don't you see? This is the emotional and the rational working together, Romero. This is unbelievable. At that moment, I realized I need to have people that can understand the emotional part of it and then the rational part of it. And by the other side, we need to get somebody to really, you know, articulate that, to diffuse this out there. With Lucas, you know, the CEO, he definitely had understanding about the emotional side of my work. I mean, what the art, what I'm doing here. And I also have, you know, Lucas that's taking care of the business side, because the business side is really, it's a lot of detail to be taking place.
My job is to keep everything running smoothly and amplify the art that he creates into products, in product development, in branding. The art business is a very unique business itself. It's a unique market, it's a niche market, and it generates about $60 to $7 billion a year. And our business here, the Brito business, is even more unique because it's not just about art, but it's about turning art into branding, into products, into, of course, the fine art selling and distribution. So it's a much more vast universe. We have from sculptures to fine art prints, of course, to full originals that sell for millions of dollars. And then in the fine art program, we still have installations, massive installations that are done worldwide. We have in the JFK airport at the LaGuardia, we have in Moscow, it's all over the world. And of course, there is also in private properties, in buildings in Miami, in buildings all over the States.
So you have some exclusive relationships with Disney, is what I understand,
Yes,
right?
I've been working with Disney and UNESCO for so many years. I created, you know, hundreds of pieces, you know, that were sold in the parks, and it's really amazing collaboration. And I'm very honored, you know, to work with that. And I work with so many other amazing companies, you know, as Hasbro as well, and Mattel. I created a Barbie for Mattel, which was fantastic.
We have a global licensing program with almost 100 licensees, with Wilson Sports, with Puma, with Coca-Cola, with Pepsi, with Hasbro, with Mattel. So basically, every major company in the world has had collaborations with the Brito brand, and that created a very unique brand with a lot of added value. The pandemic challenged our business and made us be even more creative and adapt to a situation and transform an adversity to actually an opportunity. And one of the opportunities that we took was to expand our e-commerce platform, the shopbrito.com, and turn into probably the best art and product platform together in the world. There is nothing like that because there is no brand that does fine art and have consumer products in the same place. So that's something that we have been able to expand, and we already saw incredible numbers. And the pandemic also gave us the opportunity to review our business plan and to reposition the brand to take us even further. And in repositioning the brand and reviewing all the plan, we decided that it was a good chance to explore a franchise model in retail. And of course, our plan is in the next 2 years to have about 100 stores, and the next 5 years to have 1,000 stores all over the globe.
So Romero, I know that you are the happy art movement kind of creator, that the muse for you of this is the unlocking the joy. So can you explain a little bit more about the happy art movement, the idea how it becomes this art of inclusion, and that how unlocking the joy can be something that's special to not only the people in Miami, but also globally?
Well, I mean, the happy art movement, it was happening for so many years, you know, since I was a kid, because I always wanted to share my work with people, but I never really recognized and I understood what was happening around me. It was just like, it was just happening. It was just like, I'm creating this art, people, you know, getting excited, people collecting, telling me, you know, that my art make them happy. How many countless of times I heard from all sort of people and places your art make me happy, right? You know, and then from someone that has no art to somebody has a huge art collection, you know, like unbelievable. Like Alice Walton telling me, your art make me happy, which is amazing. And there's artists now, you know, trying to emulate what, you know, I'm doing too. So it's like, I had to embrace that. And then I was like, okay, I'm founding this art movement, this happy art movement, and it's there, it's out there. And here we are, you know, the founder of the happy art movement. I'm very honored and proud for that.
Romero's vision behind creating the brand and the consumer products is because he wants to make accessible for people to share that creation that inspires happiness, most of all, with everyone in the globe.
You touch the lives of children to people that are older, people that have a little bit of money, a lot of money, people in different countries, people in different walks of life. So it must make you feel like you have this ability to touch people's lives in a way that's just uniformly special.
I think what happened, the dialogue, the communication, the conversation that I'm having, you know, with, you know, the canvas or, you know, with the public out there, what I'm putting out is like something that we all want. It doesn't matter where you come from. We all want one thing, love, right? I mean, we want love. We want to feel good. We want to feel special. We want to feel like this thing that, you know, we look for in things, you know. And I think love is like, that's why people get attracted to my work, is because I put lots of love in my work.
All the people you've met, the memories you've made across the world, do you ever just stop for a second and say, wow, I've been there, done that, or I've met these people?
You know, I was very fortunate to meet so many incredible people who did so many incredible things, you know, to the world and for all of us. I mean, this is like, it's like magic, you know, it's like come from just zero, you know what I mean, like from nowhere. It's a lot of joy, a lot of fun. You know, traveling, there's really beautiful moment of a trip. You see this one here, we arriving in London and for dinner at Buckingham Palace.
So that's you?
It's me in the taxi.
That's you right there.
That's me there.
Okay, so this is, is there more than one of these taxis right now in London?
Well, there's two of those taxis in there. And then there's another one there. This was, you know, the first time when I went with a taxi like that, because I went to other dinners in Buckingham Palace. It was my son there. And this is when I did the portrait of the prince when he turned 70.
And so how was it when you met the Queen?
Oh, really, I mean, the royal family, everyone are very special. Actually, I have a very great story here. What happens that that week, I went for dinner with the Pope and also with Prince Charles.
Okay, so we went for dinner that week with the Pope?
The same week.
And with the Prince.
And the Prince. And when I arrived, because I went to see the Pope first in Rome, and then I arrived for the dinner and the cocktail reception, the Prince said, so I heard that you were with the Pope.
And is that an image up there?
Yeah, and then I said, yeah, let me show a picture. And when I was showing the pictures to him, he said, but Romero, you're wearing the same clothes, which I was. I mean, when I travel, I have beautiful clothes, but I don't bring a lot of clothes with me. Mm-hmm. So I decided about just, you know, bring a few clothes. And it was, you know, that's why I started laughing. Because he told me, you're wearing the same clothes.
That's amazing.
And this is a portrait I did of Barbara Bush, you know, for her 90th birthday. You know, the family asked me to create this beautiful portrait. And this is with Nick and Jenna Harrison from Miami that we knew each other for so many years and their parents there. And there's picture of portrait that I've done, like Sophia Loren here, you know, Dylan, and then the Princess Madeleine from Sweden. And that's a plate that I got from the Queen of Denmark. And this is a portrait I did of the Queen here. And I did this here for Senator Ted Kennedy for his campaign. And then I did also the portrait of Alice Walton, and it's really nice. And this we're having dinner in her museum.
What was it? Is this a projection onto
and
a
this
castle?
is a projection, a castle of one of my collectors, Catherine Goyce. And her family has this castle for like more than 500 years. And then she did a party for me there. And I projected my art. It was a fantastic evening. And I stayed in the castle 5 times, but I never got to know all the rooms. And then here's when I show my work at Carrousel du Louvre in Paris, which was very spectacular. And listen, sometimes I stay here on the weekend, and then late in the night when I walk in this hallway, you know, or about to put the lights off, I do come this moment, it's like, oh my God, this is like incredible.
He has actually been able to fulfill his dream of being a diplomat in a different way by actually carrying his art worldwide. and also by welcoming people from all over the globe into a place which is basically an embassy.
Do you find that you're kind of an ambassador in terms of you can bring your art into these countries?
Yeah, I think art and sports is really a field where everybody can celebrate. I mean, when you think about, like the arts, the arts here is a place that, and is a field, again, that, we can have a discussion, you can appreciate, people's not gonna ask Picasso is from Spain, Picasso belongs to the world. And I think, when people see my art, it's like I was born in Brazil, I'm American too, but, I travel the world. I feel like I'm a universal citizen. And I think we definitely need to have communication with people, because this way we're going to be able to understand more what's happening and how we can work together, how we can all live together.
Do you find, especially during a pandemic, the idea of being able to bring joy during such an incredibly challenging era that it's been unprecedented for a lot of us. Do you find that it's been great to be able to see people enjoy your art and maybe give them a little bit of happiness?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. Hope is so important. And I think, there was things happening all over the world, but we never were so connected as we are today. So we have this feeling that we are all on this place together. And we're on this planet together. We're all going through this pandemic together. It doesn't matter where you are. And it's like something that never happened before. So I'm so honored that I was able to create, coloring books and share with people and, be able to create images of hope and happiness.
Romero is a self-publishing artist, so all the manufacturing is actually done in-house for prints. So we have our own framing, we have our own logistics that we ship global, and we have a global distribution through more than 200 galleries worldwide, as well as our own flagship gallery in Miami on Lincoln Road.
And here's where we create all the prints, and there has to be in a very clean and dust-free place, and it has to be really cold also. Usually you had to change your shoes to go in.
So you started painting on newspaper, fragile pieces of newspaper, and in praying, fingers crossed, that it wouldn't rip when you're using pastels, and then now the 21st century allows you to do this.
So it's a beautiful thing about, embracing, technology, all this development and improvement to our lives. Like this here, I'm sure that Leonardo da Vinci would go crazy to see something like that. So, and I'm gonna show you my studio there, so
there you go.
Please.
Oh, please, thank you. Wow. So this is where you work.
So this is what I work. I call this the beach, in my studio.
Sure.
Because I envision here the beach. I sit down many times. You can sit here for a little bit.
So do you create when you're inspired and then you take a break and then you come back to it? Or is there a method to the madness?
No,
how does it work?
There's no method, no. I mean, because I think the most crucial for me is to have the time to do it with no interruption and no, nothing else. Yeah. So, I mean, I end up creating more things during the weekend when I'm here by myself, yes. But I'm constantly doing something around my art. If it's not like creating a piece itself or working in a piece, it is talking about my work.
Do you find it's been challenging to try to make it on that grander scale in terms of the production and the manufacturing of it?
I think it's more challenging than any way in anything, because when you have an idea and to make that idea to happen, you need to bring people that can understand. I think it's become a little bit more challenging when it comes in the arts. You know what I mean? There's not so many people doing the arts, especially in the way I do here with the team. So you have to get to find people that has the ability to be in the in the emotional world and in the structure too, because at the same time I have music. It's a very kind of magical place, but they need to have emotion together with structure.
And
the
do
emotional.
You have music that you listen to during the creative process?
I listen to the music all the time. Yeah, I have all sort of music in here. It's a very artsy space, but it also has to be a very rational at the same time. No, I want to show you something here. It's an installation mostly.
La ropa?
That is the closet, which is like,
with the clothes.
Which is really like sometimes a little bit crazy.
It's color coordinated.
Yeah, kind of. Since we moved to here, it has to be really, because I'm just rearranging with my team here.
Look at the
and
shoes.
The shoes, yeah, the shoes are crazy.
They're beautiful though.
Look at this one here.
Look at the detail on the shoes.
No, this is like handmade.
Is that velvet?
Yeah.
Those are dolce.
Yeah.
Of course they're dolce.
Like, and this is really crazy.
Louis Vuitton.
Crazy, right? He came to my party in Brazil. Here, look. That's him.
How fantastic.
He surprised me. Yeah, it's a great guy. And then we come here, we have a smaller gym here.
So are you big into exercise and eating well?
I try. Like this morning I did some exercise in my house. I have so many other things to take care of my mind, I have my work, I have so many other things. So it's just mostly for me to keep healthy.
I mean, it's literally become your home away from home. I mean, if you had to, you could sleep here.
I know, yeah.
You could eat here.
I don't want to.
You could get dressed here.
I have a room in there that I'm gonna set up just for that. And have a bathroom too, so it's perfect. I have so many projects. I had just to be very careful with all my projects, because otherwise I may get distracted and not finish what I have to finish, because I have a lot of commission.
I get that problem. I open too many emails in the inbox and then you never get to it.
And so many ideas. It's just like, I have to be very focused. And I'm just developing, because a lot of those icons I put like part of my, my work. Like you see behind the palm tree there, I put like Brito many times. Like I create patterns out of my
your own name. So your name is art. So your name is literally synonymous with art, but then your actual signature has become art.
Yeah. So I've incorporated to like being part of the, the composition of the art. And then I start extracting those and creating art. It's like without everything else, just those elements in one place together. And this was my first easel ever.
Literally.
That I bought, yeah.
Your very first easel.
My first easel I ever got, and this here, and it's really old now.
Think about where it's been and where's it going.
And how many pieces I created using this little guy here.
Do you try to incorporate a heart into literally every one of your pieces?
Yeah, one day I start putting heart in my work, because I start with colors, and then I start being like really using an icon. But why not also to say, I love you? With a visual, it can be with a language, or it can be sound, or it can be with image.
Miami has kind of become your home away from home, that this is the kind of city that you not only enjoy living in, but you enjoy creating, that you find inspiration from.
Yes, Miami's the water inspires me a lot, the people, and they mix this melting pot that's so unbelievable in the city. And I travel around the globe, and I've been so many places, but Miami has this beautiful, this spirit of this positive air of Miami. The city has been so good to me. I created so many relationships, so many friends in here. I feel every time when I'm flying back to Miami, I'm coming back home.
But what do you want them to feel? What do you want them to think about the fact that they now own a little bit of Romero Brito?
As an artist and as a human being, my hope is that my art and we're going to be remembered, in the future, and as the art of happiness, and I hope that, today, when somebody's acquiring, collecting my work, you're gonna have this beautiful feeling inside of you, the true feeling that you feel when you're happy, when you feel good about something, a special person or a special moment in your life, or, it was in the past or right now. So those things all together, that's what I hope that my art can bring for one person, for a family, for community, and to the world.
So every few purchases, we're going to be adding this Brito golden ticket, and whoever is the lucky winner will be able to come and enjoy the Brito Palace.
Wow, what a way to wrap up day one. Wow, that was a great way to end. I want to thank Romero and Lucas for literally bringing us into your world. And Katie did an amazing job with the interview and everybody involved. I love the Prince Charles story, right? So women are not the only ones that worry about wearing the same outfit and being seen. So happy, Romero, that you're part of the 305. But I want to thank all of the panelists and moderators today. Of course, all of our great sponsors, Jay Pelham, the Banking and Finance Committee, Alfred, for your leadership in the chamber and everything you do. And I really have to thank Tanya and Stephanie. They do so much of the heavy lifting. You ladies rock. Please tune in on Thursday at 3 o'clock, May 6th. It's going to be another great event, great lineup of folks and topics, and a conversation with Mr. 305. It's a can't miss. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for participating. Take care.